Married in 1922. My husband at that time was in the cattle business, buying and selling mostly, to shipping to, at that time, to South St. Paul Market and to Elliott's here in Duluth. In fact, we're very good friends with the Elliott's, dating back 50 years. And somehow or other, we used to talk, and I've always been very fond of business. And I thought, oh, being married wasn't just enough. I would like to have been part of the business. So we used to talk, what could we do that we could sort of run as a team. Time I was more or less expecting my firstborn, Irwin Goldfine, who you haven't heard much about.
No.
He's very backward. Very he doesn't talk about himself.
No, much.
So I didn't want him away from home any more than possible. So we bought it. We were married in 22 in August. And at that time, too, it was hard finding a place to live for under $25, you know. It's a little tough. Yeah. So we ran across this duplex. And my brother at that time wasn't much in the... I might as well put in a plug for Ben Overman. He needs it. And so he found this duplex for us that we could buy with $100 down, which we did. And my folks lived downstairs, my mother and dad, and we took the upstairs, which was a little larger. But then we decided we would make the dining room an office. I was always I had work doing stenographic work from the time of 15, 16, and my husband said they would go out and he would go out and rent a farm, and we would run want ads for sale, cattle, heifers, hogs. It was pretty rough times, and a farmer, if he bought a cow or a hog or a couple of chickens, at least he almost made a living, and that's where we came in. We would run these ads, and we would give this house as the address at 517, 519, and we had the dining room and the desk set up and waiting for customers. And
people came and they came.
Yeah, they came, and I'd run down. They say, "Is this the barn?" I said, "Yes." More or less, and you take them upstairs, and the coffee was always on the stove. And by that time, I would start looking for my husband. We have a customer. And he would come home and take them to the farm. Sometimes, and it was amazing that a good many of the farmers were Finns, and they'd bring their children who were born in this country, but they couldn't talk for some reason. In order to get them to say something was something.
There's nothing more difficult than a Finn talking to a Jew, and neither of them know how to talk English too well.
Yeah, neither one could make it.
That's hard to do business under those conditions.
So he would come and pick up the people, take them to the farm, and either sell them or not sell them. In most cases, you sold them. A good cow then probably brought $40, $50. Today, you're paying $200 for this, about $150.
$200 or more.
Yeah. And he might have a $5 bill or 10 to pay down. And this is where I came in. I'd come out, and we had these contracts made up. We'd take his $5 as down payment, and then give him terms on the balance.
And we also, Fatty should tell you that we also in those days used to give them the same kind of unconditional guarantee. They didn't like the cow, they could bring him back for another cow.
Yeah, that's right.
We had the cows.
Yeah, and we built up sort of a name, really. And we did this for almost 10 years. At the time that we lived in this particular house, I would say, well, not 8, 9, Irwin was born there, and Monty was born there. Yeah. They're 5 years apart.
We used to fight.
Don't ask me which one is the older one.
So we used to argue there, the same as we do now.
So by that time, we decided we should move into something, expand, as the saying goes. So we looked and looked, and we thought adding feed might be go with what we're doing. So we rented an old barn on Commerce Street, 3rd Avenue West in Commerce. Whose place was that?
It was across it's across from the Marina auditorium now.
And down in there. Then they had at that
time. It's part of the urban renewal area.
Yeah, it was a freight company, and it was a barn-like. And in the office had a little round stove, and we added horses, we had cattle, we had some feed, hay, and we were really in big-time business. At that time, we bought the Bridgman farm. We were really, you know...
we went into debt. We're always in debt. One thing about the Goldfines, we know how to go into debt. We've been in debt ever since the beginning.
And we dealt with the one bank all our life, really. The First and American Bank were very good, that's before your time, too. There was Mr. Moore who ran the bank. Today they have, and you'd go in and my husband would go out and buy some cattle, maybe, and he'd leave with about 100 or 150 in the bank, and he'd call me up and say, Fanny, I gave out $1,000 worth of checks, and all you had to do is sweat out the balance. It's the same we're doing now, only in bigger amounts.
We're sweating the same, but the amounts are bigger.
Yeah. So
is that we felt that if we were going to survive in the livestock business, that we had to have something to trade to the farmers in addition.
That's how we got to call it the trading post. I think the one story, because I feel I'm doing it, nobody gives me a compliment, so I'm going to give myself one. I think I'm doing a good collection job. And this one particular, we used to type on the back of the card, used to do your own bookkeeping. This guy bought a heifer, a cow. And I'm looking at the card, he bought a heifer. I don't know how many months he hasn't paid, so I call him up and I says, listen, John, you know you haven't paid for 4 or 5 months. We're just going to drive up and pick up that heifer. He says, come and get it. I ate it.
And when we built the store, the present store, some 11 years ago, the present store, it was the greatest adventure of our lives. We got heavily in debt. We cried. I shed many a tear. Personal involvement was great, and we were... and it's been a good store.
I didn't go down the avenue the whole year that they were tearing down the store.
She used to go down, and when she went in the first day. And I tell you, when we opened the store,
I was very happy in the old store.
The basic reason we expanded is that we felt that we had enough merchandising know-how that we learned from Fanny and from my father, that we could bring this merchandising concept to other markets. And we could do it at the headquarters in Duluth. And our eagle said to us, buddy, show them that you can bring that Goldfine merchandising, that Goldfine know-how, that Goldfine momentum, that Goldfine advertising to other markets.
When we were at Goldfines decided to expand, we wanted to pick a market that was good and that would want a store like Goldfines and yet would still be in our trading area. We studied all the close markets to Duluth and came up with Grand Rapids, and we're very excited about Grand Rapids. We think it's an excellent business community and that our store in Grand Rapids will do quite well.
I think you ought to hand the figures to the mayor, and then we'll hand it to Jerry, and then to my mother.
Passing the buck. Passing the buck. Thank you, Mayor. All right, together. I hope we go together. Long way.
The ribbon is cut. Goldfines of Grand Rapids. Right this
Actually, what you see here are the room settings as you visualize them in your own home, and directly above each setting is the actual pieces, and so that the person who sees a setting can go right to we can go right to the racks with the most modern electrical, we call it a picker, and pick the merchandise off the shelf and get it to the consumer either immediately or deliver it. This is so revolutionary that we have had, there isn't a trade paper that deals with modern merchandising methods that isn't been here to see it. It's the most unusual. It's we think it's a Goldfine invention, and we are quite thrilled the way it turned out.
So we made our own mall. It looks like a mall, don't it? Sure. But it happens to be our own stores. We have our own record store. You know, Irwin's record store, and we have Monty's jewelry store, and we have Fanny's appliance store.
Yeah.
You know, and Rudy's furniture store. We have our own stores and our own mall, which kind of all controlled by us. We think. Can you give me a status report?
Filling up good and everything's all right.
Have we filled in the back yet?
Yeah,
We filled back there?
we're about halfway there, yeah.
Halfway. Oh, that's almost. And they're still coming in?
Yeah, we got the dirt lots full over
You
there.
have got the dirt lots full.
We've got the policeman on the corner now pushing them up towards the back.
Okay, great. Okay.
Things are looking good.
Okay, now you got any room in the employees' parking lot?
Yeah, we do have room there. We'll go there if we have to
Okay.
later.
We're parking 1,000 cars should be there because we've got 300 extra spaces in the, and we have 15 acres of field next door to us, so we're parking 300 extra cars. We have 700. There's over 1,000 parking spaces, which is bigger than any mall or discount store in north of Minneapolis. So we should be fine. This is our complete appliance stock. I don't know how many TVs are back up. You know, have you been to our color TV room? There's some features. There's some features of the store I want you to look at our color TV room. Look at our automotive service, where we've combined. We're the only. This is refrigerators, washers, put up on the top rack. One, that's all TV. 1, 2, 3. You know, you got maybe 100, 150 TVs there. You know, everything's open. Our competitors can see on the drug, but there's a lot of features. A lot of.
Yes.
Beautiful store, isn't it? You had a good look at the store?
Indeed we have.
Beautiful, isn't it? Quite an advanced concept.
Yeah, it's a unique sort of thing.
Very advanced.
You see, I never worried about supplying a real fancy place for the boys. Like my boys worried about supplying a real beautiful place for their children, which their children don't want. But I supplied them a real barn-like place, and they loved it. They grew up with this. They didn't know any different, really. And their dad died quite young. He was 50. And this is what they knew. They knew that they went to school, and after school there was one place to come to the store. God forbid if they marched around on Superior Street. They came to the store. And we moved on in October.
My dad used to have an expression, it reminds me, my dad used to have an expression. He says, I think football's great, he says, and I think you should play football, but he says, remember, he says, you only have to give $35 besides going to school to the store a week. So if you can get the football in, that would be great, you know.
They just somehow, there was no wondering what they were going to do when they were going to grow up. It was there, and they were expected to do it, and they did it and liked it. And otherwise, probably, I think that you should mention really that there are very few, not because I'm trying to boost them. I think they talk for themselves. They don't need their mother to talk for them, that are as heavily involved in a community as Irwin and Monty. They give of their time, they give of their money. And I think that most business people say, I'm too busy, I can't do it. But they never turn anything down.
I want to just get into a little bit more detail of what's included because there's one thing that went over pretty fast. It's a 4-part complex. Skiing, the camping, the swimming, court games, and a tram ride, a summer tram ride, which goes from the top of the hill for sightseers down to the bottom of the hill and then tying into the Zoo. So we think economically it will bring very many people to our community. It will create jobs, and plus the third benefit of the Duluth people and the Superior people and the people in the area will enjoy its facilities very much. We've tried very hard to have a complete complex. We think there will be as many summer activities as winter activities. It'll be a year-round facility. Campgrounds, the trails, the court games, the swimming, the tram ride in the summer, the skiing and winter activities, ice skating in the winter. So it will be service both sides of the fence quite well. According to the survey, we're estimating land acquisition at a maximum of $100,000. 83% of the land is locally owned now. Is that the figure? I think 83% of the land is owned by the city or county at this point.
So at least during...
The economic impact on the community is, we think, very, very large. The first round and second round economics are about a $2.4 million expenditure the first year, and 237 indirect jobs the first year,
with 106 direct jobs involved in just operating the ski hill and the summer facilities.
Well, I think that the ski hill is exactly like the Arena Auditorium. It's a two-phase project. It has a direct benefit to the local citizens and makes Duluth a better place to live, more enjoyable, and then it also has the benefit of bringing in people from the surrounding area. The ski hill will bring in people, the recreation center, and it is a 12-month recreation center, including a tram ride and a campground, and it will bring a lot of people in from out of town, and we need these people from out of town to help support the area, and then locally that will improve Duluth's facilities. I think that there are, in the course of 3 or 4 years after the ski hill is built, I'm convinced that there'll be a lot more skiers in Duluth now than there's ever been. I think there'll be a lot more campers. I think there'll be a lot more hikers and swimmers. The people will expand on the facilities. This boat marina, I think it's got a great value. I think it's a beautiful attraction for the tourists, and I think that it complements the arena greatly. I think I'd like to see a much bigger one right in the same spot. It supplies a need for the boaters, and plus I think it's a very good tourist attraction. Well, I like the industry. I have some personal financial involvements in the industry, and I think it's beneficial to the store. And I think primarily I feel that we can do the most in the tourist industry in benefiting our economic climate. I think that there's a terrific area of expansion available in the tourist industry for Duluth in this area, and I think that our future is based on the tourism industry. Maybe we've been lucky that we didn't get more economic or more growth with plants, and our environment is generally in great shape. And I think in the next 50 years, because our environment is in relatively good shape, that we'll be a tourist area, be a strong tourist area. What has the arena done for the city? Well, I think we've talked about this for many, many times, but the arena did all that everybody promised it would do and much more. I think that the arena, it was really our turning point in our economic upgrade. Thinking back to 62 or 63, we had big problems. I remember when we started on the arena, I think that there were 28 empty stores on Superior Street. Now, despite the fact there's 3 new discount stores that came in 1962, there are less empty stores than there have ever been. Not only has it helped economically, it's filled this service gap. I really think that our future is in the service-oriented industries, but it's made the life living in Duluth more enjoyable. I think those are the 2 major benefits. When I think of service-oriented, I think of the education, like our universities here are growing. I think of the medical profession. Our doctor community is becoming a center of the area. I think of government. We're becoming a government center, air base, these kind of things. And I consider retailing. We now are doing a retail business in Duluth from a far greater area than we ever did before. I think people from the surrounding areas were used to buy more in their local communities are now going to the bigger communities. As more people in Duluth go to Minneapolis, I think more people from the range come to Duluth as the highways improve. And I think the tourist-oriented business is the 5th service business. And I think that Duluth's future base is based on these 5 business types. Well, I think there's a good basis of other industry in Duluth. I think the port is extremely important. The port has had very good growth and steady growth. We don't make the best use of our harbor yet because I think the port is growing, and I think it'll be an improvement even for recreation purposes. When we get more marinas and more sailboating, that will help further. But the excitement of having the 300 foreign ships come into our port each year is not only beneficial to the tourist business, but basically that's a terrific industry for us. And I think it's an industry that's here to stay, and it's got to get better, and I think it's an important industry. I think that the education community will grow as it has grown.
Combining these 6 colleges, the idea that in the consortium situation has got to help us. I think as we improve our community, the local colleges will be more attractive. People will want to leave some of the larger schools, and I think that our colleges will grow and will be a good backbone for business for the community. I think it's very, very important in our future growth. Well, you know, these projects just don't happen. I think that we do need good community leadership. We, of course, have had good community leadership in some areas in the past, but I think that both the retail community and the industrial community, I call them the amateurs, have to get in and roll up their sleeves and produce these projects. There are several on the boards, and the auditorium expansion, for instance, is very, very important. It's a great project. Gino Paolucci is pushing that project, and I think it's an improvement. There's another committee pushing the cultural center. I think it's a very, very important project. I think that the ski hill will have a benefit to the community, and these projects do take leadership and do take pushing, and frankly, I don't think we've had enough of it. I think that the more projects that we're pushing, the better off we'll be, and the more people who want projects, the more chance of success we'll have, especially in the business community and in what I call the amateurs. The amateurs have to want something pretty bad, and when they want it, I think they can produce it. The amateurs wanted the auditorium arena, and it was produced, and I think it goes for the new high schools and YMCAs, etc. Well, first of all, there's 2 factors that are very important. You have to have a family that's quite sympathetic, a wife and children that are, when you're not home many nights, are quite sympathetic, and then you have to have business associates that are covering for you or that cover your load. If I didn't have a mother and brother involved in the same business, I couldn't take as much time off as I do. So those things are quite important, and then you know, it seems the busier you are, the more time you make. Well, I enjoy the sense of accomplishment that we have been successful in some of our civic activities and that we've accomplished things, and I enjoy that that we have benefited the community. Second reason probably is that it's beneficial to our business. We are in a service-oriented business and a retailing business, and I think the promotion of tourism and recreation does benefit our business. I remember when our business was primarily catering to a farm trade, when there were more farmers in this area. That was our original business, and through the years we've been able to change it from a farm-oriented business to a recreation-oriented business, to a home-oriented business. So I think secondly the civic work is beneficial in that. Thirdly, I live in Duluth, and at this point I've lived here all my life, and I think that the projects that we get involved with are beneficial to my family and to my personal enjoyment. I like to go to hockey games, and I like to go to symphony concerts, and I like to go to a nice place. So I think that's also a factor. And then I suppose a fourth factor is that you know, you should do some of these things, or you should do things that are not only for your personal benefit, but for the benefit of the people, as long as you're on this earth, for the benefit of mankind. That's kind of an altruistic point of view, but that's one aspect. The accomplishment in benefiting the community rubs off on you and helps you personally.
I think that Monty has said it, and he says it to our employees probably better than any of us. And he really says it, and I think that we've been, you know, all the projects, they've been exciting projects. Some of them haven't been money makers. I'm sure there are a lot of big corporations in America that have had a much greater success to the zenith of money than, but we've had fun. We've had, I don't know, Fanny gets up every day. We didn't used to stay open Sunday, you know?
Yeah.
And I said to her, as a favor to you, Fanny, we'll stay open Sunday so you have a place to go and have fun.
Yeah.
And that's basically why the whole story.